Hi, I'm Scott.
And I'm Kelly, and welcome to the A to Z of yoga, and today's letter is D.
And the first D that we're going to look at is dynamic, and here we're referring to dynamic posture practices, which are posture practices where we move in and we move out of a position without staying there for a particularly long period of time. And these are more recent in terms of yoga, that become very popular more recently, again probably due to our sedentary lifestyle and our need to move more, but we wanted to mention it here to begin to bring out the purpose of dynamic movement, which really is to get everything going. So when you move in and out of postures, it brings us a lot of advantages through that repetition of the same movement, and through the pumping action, the capillary action in the body that gets the blood flowing, the synovial fluids going, the lymph and all the other fluids of the body going, and helps us to open out and prepare to stay in postures later on, and also to test areas of our body without the strain of staying and hanging around in postures for a long time. We get to check in and see how those areas feel about staying there for longer.
And then the next word is a big word, it's Dukka or Dukkam, which translates to suffering. So in our yoga practice, what we're trying to alleviate and move away from is suffering. Another translation actually, which is interesting for this word, is constricted space, which means when we're suffering, we're actually constricting the space of the heart. So in yoga practice, what we're trying to do is move towards the space of the heart and reduce that constriction.
Cool, and that takes us to another big yoga word that we're going to tackle today, which is Dharma. And Dharma comes from the Sanskrit root da, and which means to support. So Dharma really is that which supports us, which should really be a definition of yoga in itself, that if it's not supporting you, it isn't yoga. One of the things I wanted to mention though is the word has a slightly different connotation in Buddhism. So in Buddhism it's very specific in that it refers to the teachings of the Buddha, and it is the same logic there because those teachings are supposed to support you. But in yoga terms, the word that's usually translated for Dharma is duty, and that's a reference to whatever commitments you have in your life and where the focus of your commitments is, which differs according to your stage of life. And it's easy to think about, if we look at from when you're born to when you die, how your life changes. Your commitments in the earlier phases as a child and as an early student really are very, very different from your commitments as your householder, and then your commitments as a person who is retired from the worldly life. And Dharma is different at each of these points. So sometimes the reason why you can't go deeper into yoga practice at this point is that the commitments in your life just don't facilitate it, particularly in that householder phase where you're supporting a whole lot of other people. And it's really in the later stages of life, in terms of the usual progress of yoga, that we end up moving towards the deeper and more meditative practices of yoga.
Which brings us to the next D words, dharana and dhyanam, the more internal practices and the limbs of yoga, concentration and meditation. So these deeper practices that take us to meditation are not separate from yoga, they're actually in the 8 limbs of yoga. So moving from the external practices to the internal practices, being able to focus our mind, which is dharana, and in order to meditate, dhyanam.
Thank you for joining us for the letter D.
We'll see you for the letter E.